All right, I think we are live. Oh gosh. I thought I had a second to do that before I got on live, but that is the love language of live. You all see some of the behind the scenes sorts of things. I wanted to thank you all for catching the last live. I'm starting each one of these pretty much stating that I'm going to try to go live on YouTube here. One, so that I can maybe catch some people sometimes in some places. Okay, thank you for the sound check. And then also because YouTube is just great because they keep all of this, right? Every time you go live on here, the video will be here. So if I say something and you don't catch the live, you can catch the replay. Tonight I wanted to talk, and this is being recorded at night. You might be watching it in the daytime, so good morning to you. But tonight I wanted to talk about how to advocate for yourself in a medical system that doesn't work. Um, you know, I have shared and will continue to share the not the sole reason, but like the big heart reason behind why I do the work that I do is because of what I watched my mother suffer with when I was, in undergrad and post that time and watching her, to her transition. And one of the saddest experiences that of her story, because I mean there's parts of it that are sad, but one of the saddest experiences of her story was when it got down closer to her transition time and she was on a transplant list. And if you have ever yourself been on a transplant list or had someone that you love be on a list, you are putting so much hope and so much energy towards them getting the help that they need, getting the organ that they're looking for, hoping that something's going to pull through. And I remember with my mother specifically that there was a viable liver for her, but what was communicated to us during that time was because of the insurance that she carried, she couldn't afford the post-op care because there's like all these and I know I'm saying this probably incorrectly, so forgive me, but it's like they have to do these like suppressant things to make sure the body doesn't reject the new organ. So it's almost like the immune system has this job of like, hey, 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 you have to put medications in so that the new organ can be received. That's very costly. And so she didn't get the opportunity to even get the new liver because she couldn't afford the medication and the post care. So when I think about advocating for yourself in the medical system, let me tell you all right now, if you're not already intertwined in the medical system, the best thing you can do in advocating is preventative care. That is doing as much as you can for your health. And you don't have to know all the things like, well, how do I take care of this? How do I take care of that? I always tell people just go back to the original like blueprint, go back to the garden, eat from the earth, um, stay calm, have a partner, right? Um, all the overstimulation that we're all dealing with. Simplify your life because when we're thinking about advocating in a system, that means we're already there. So I want to say that first and foremost, because many of the patients that I work with are chronic illness sufferers. And I consider it an honor to be able to walk with people who were like my mother, who did not have the opportunities that, I have and some others, maybe even like yourself have been afforded. When you're going into an appointment with whoever, you need to be preparing for that appointment. And so one of the things, and I don't have one in a quick reach of me right now, but I'll just grab a random book. Well, there's nothing random about this book. This is one of my acupuncture books, but have a journal. It's nothing like when you're going into an appointment and it's like, I don't know when that started, or I can't tell the severity of that, or take that pressure off of your mind and write stuff down so that you can share that information. That's going to help to maximize the time because one of the things that, helps is like, oh, well, they don't have a lot of time for me. They don't have a lot of time. Okay, so they don't have a lot of time. You can either sit there and fuss about not having a lot of time, or we're going to maximize the time that we have. Maximize the time by writing things down, taking control of the conversation. If you feel that your illness has you really weak or has you really vulnerable, go to appointments with someone who understands to a degree your medical situation and who can also advocate for you. So don't take your timid friend, don't take your like cowardly, loved one. Love them outside of your appointments, but bring that person with you who's going to be like, all right, but what about da 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 da? And that might seem rough, that might seem aggressive, but either you're going to advocate for yourself or bring an advocate with you. Okay. When we're thinking about the language that gets better responses, you know, being very direct, being very honest. It's really challenging at times for us to talk about, our health, talk about our missteps, talk about, like, again, we're talking about those vulnerabilities. But when you're more honest, then it gives a clearer picture because illness, chronic disease, it doesn't just pop out of like nowhere. It starts somewhere. And I always talk about like it has this like kind of under brewing where it is, and then it's slowly kind of creeping up. So when you're honest about what's happened, whether it's things that are a part of your own body and makeup or whether it's a part of your choices and your decisions that you've made, try to be as honest as possible. Um, a lot of times in the Black family, and we know about systemic racism, we know how historically, we have maybe, at many times been mistreated in medical environments. When you have an opportunity to be in spaces with people who look like you, who sound like you, who are in proximity, I'm gonna tell you to do you, and of course, do with what you have access to. But when it is viable, when it is possible, I'm gonna really encourage you to explore opportunities of being in space with BIPOC providers. And then I want to take that out even greater. I know some of my patients, I've watched them so wonderfully create what we call wellness teams. One of the biggest gripes that people have, and we're thinking about like a system that doesn't listen to us, is like, oh, well, they're only in the room with me for 7 minutes and then they're jetting out. If a doctor had the capacity to stay with you longer, and this isn't all doctors, okay, but like, you go in to an urgent situation, or you might go in for a physical, or and everything feels like it's just moving really quickly. A lot of that pressure is predicated on what they have to do with the insurance companies, predicated on their higher ups on how many patients that they have to see in a day. And so what you're seeing many times is the fruit of those environments. And then we're upset with the individual. And again, do you, if you want to be upset with the individual, then, be upset with them. But one of my encouragement, and I'm actually one of the team members on people's wellness teams that make it very, um, I'm going to spend more than 7 minutes with you. I guess I'll say it like that. And so, in some spaces, you're going to get that 7 to 10 minutes. And then, in some other spaces, you're going to get an hour to an hour and a half. I think it's important that you add those players because if you have a need to be heard and you have a need to you want someone to spend more time with you, but then you're going into an environment that doesn't really afford that, you're going to continue to frustrate yourself. And frustration can just lead to, I don't forget this, this is too hard, this is too difficult, I'm not going to do this, and I'm out. Again, that's your choice, that's your decision. But I'm going to encourage you to spend some time with your biomed doctor, spend some time with your, holistic and your Eastern medicine practitioners, or if you do Ayurvedic or whatever, right? I'm an Eastern medicine practitioner, so of course I default there all the time. I don't really care what you do, but put people on your team, right, that are going to give you more of their ear, more of their time, whose medical spaces allow for that. And then that way you don't have to always walk out of an appointment feeling like I haven't been heard, I haven't been seen. Some of the red flags that I would encourage you, and that's with anybody on your team, Anyone that's making you fuck, you have to make a decision right then and there. And that is at the doctor or at your house or at your job, whenever it's like right here, right now. That's such red flag behavior. And especially in a medical environment. And this is like, I would say this to any of my colleagues on either side of the medical house, whether it's Eastern medicine or biomed, stop pressuring people. And then for you all who are receiving care, stop making rash decisions by people's pressure. We're adults, right? And even if it's a child, there's an adult in the room that would be able to advocate for them. Anyone who's telling you that you got to make a decision right here, right now, or else, my answer is always going to be no. If you don't do this right now, then it's about to be a problem. Then I'm not doing this and we're about to have a problem. Have the problem. Problem with me. I am a problem because that is a red flag. That pressure, that do it right now or else. Even your body. And we're not talking about like the person who's got your medical power of attorney having to make a decision on your last breath. We're talking about if I make that decision today, or if I make that decision 2 days from now, when I've had a chance to talk with my loved ones, to talk with the people who can help. Because when you are walking through an illness, and again, you're vulnerable, you're sad, you are tired, you are tired. You may be incapable of making a decision, and it's going to probably be really, really important for you to not make a decision that maybe can't be reversed, okay? Always get all of your documentation. And if you don't understand something, you ask questions. If you get a report and they're like, oh, take this lab over there, and you got people kind of talking over your head, no, have people to explain what does this mean? What is this information? We have access to all this, the search engines and the chat and whatever people are using. Hey, I got something. What could this mean? Make sure you understand your documentation because we're talking about feeling like you aren't heard in a medical system. There's papers upon papers, and they're being given to you. Or I think nowadays they're probably being emailed because no one's printing because, like, why waste paper? Go ahead and make sure you understand your documentation, whether it's the doctor, whether it's the nurse, whether it's someone here, there. Don't get shuffled through. And I'll give you an example of the shuffle through. A lot of times my patients will tell me, man, every time I go to the doctor, my blood pressure is always high, but when I'm at home, it's never this high. And I always say, well, when you're at the doctor, you're already anxious because, like, what they about to tell me. Two, you're running in, you're driving through traffic, you're finding a parking spot, you're trying to figure out what floor they're on, you're running in there. They're calling your name, they're rushing you through, and it's just like da 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 da. Well, do you think your blood pressure is going to be normal or low? Of course, it's going to be high. It's going to be high. You're excitable. So here's some free game. Can I take your blood pressure? You know what? I need a second. And take a couple of deep breaths. And it might feel like we don't got time for that. It's your insurance that's paying for your appointment. Or if you're paying out of pocket, it's your cash out your bank account. Take some time to and also running late, exactly. Take some time to just take a few breaths. Now, you may, in fact, may have high blood pressure, and that might be a condition that very well may need to be spoken to. So I'm not saying like, oh, deep breathing will cure your high blood pressure, or taking a minute will cure your high blood pressure. But calming down, because if you allow that rush and that rush and that rush to happen, then you get this high blood pressure. The next thing in that back room is going to be what? Well, we probably need to start you on a certain low dose of high blood pressure medication and then kind of see, now we're kind of hook, line, and sinkered into some sort of medication situation. Again, your choice, your decision, but that's just some free game. Don't be afraid to seek a second opinion. And I'm going to take that up a level. So there's two things. Don't be afraid to seek a second opinion. You might feel like you are offending a doctor. It's like, oh, they spent all this time. They were so nice in their tone. They were so available to me. Okay, sure. if you get that like gut check, right? Kind of like that, we call it intuition. You feel, don't go get a second opinion. Don't feel like, oh, well, the person in the white coat tell me that I must. And I have a white coat, so let me just be clear. I have one. If someone and I'm like, hey, and I'm thinking something about what's going on with somebody, by all means, go talk to somebody else. It's okay. And it's like, who cares if you offend somebody? Like sometimes some of your things that you think and some of the things that you're saying will offend people. If me safeguarding my health or me seeking a second opinion about something is offensive to you, offend somebody. Advocating for yourself in a medical system that doesn't listen, sometimes when you're telling somebody that they're not listening to you, is offensive and it's aggressive and they're fighting words. Go ahead. Hey, you know what? I just want to probably see another doctor and kind of see what I'm going to do here. And then I said I had two things. Looking at different forms of medicine, because our medicine here in the States, our biomed is a certain like single track. Doesn't make it bad, doesn't make it good. It just makes it, it is what it is. When we invite other types of medicine and other perspectives, even the way something is perceived, even the way a diagnosis is treated, even the way you diagnose, it is very, very different. So you can advocate for yourself in a medical system by taking a couple steps to the left and to the right outside of that system. You're in the system and you don't like the system, but you won't step out the system. Step out the system. Try something different. Give yourself a chance. Give your brain a chance to think about something in a different way. You'll be surprised at the results that you'll get. So I think that is my snippet. I try to keep these lives to 20 minutes or so. I thank you all who were watching live. Thank you all who have been following the channel and subscribing. Please turn on the bell so that when I go live, if you're on the platform or you have your YouTube notifications turned on, you'll get notified. And I will see you all next time. Take care.